I'm always reminded of an expression by a friend of mine who says, you know, God made me special just like everybody else. But I think what makes it special is that it has developed in its own time over its own space, and that it has proved resilient under both social or economic or physical assault, that it has remained. Uh, that in itself is quite an achievement when you consider how much Mickey D's and Coca-Cola is all throughout the world, and yet we're in the middle of its home, and we insist on these identities. That's kind of amazing. I honestly think that the Indian country, the younger Indian country especially, has more accessibility than has ever happened, and because of its freedom, because of its of where we stand now, and both with technology, Indian country being massive embracers of social media. I mean, that's interesting to me, is how much Indian country has embraced social media. And that feeds right into kids and what they understand and how they understand the world and what their worldview is. They don't have these boundaries. And so for them, they're able to have greater access to language, greater access to technical books and whatnot, so that if their interest lies that way, they can do their own research, they can follow those interests. And I think largely we see people returning, older people who have the unfortunate upbringing where these facets of their lives were conditioned not to celebrate, not to even speak, not to do these things. They, whether they like it or not, they are witnessing a substantial change. And that change is interesting because it's not morphing into anything else. It's actually returning. And what we see is we see people returning to something that is much older than the dominant culture. It is much more stable, I think. And I think in the face of globalization, at large, people are finding great comfort and solace in these real primal and primordial relationships and constructs. They offer something that you can anchor on. And I can only see that within the next 100 years, those relationships deepening, that exploration deepening. I mean, the fact that you can go up to Canada now, watch TV on a regular TV set, and have all the old oral stories now in comedy, or now in cartoon, now in claymation, now in all these forms, and that it's just norm. For those kids, they don't know anything else. And I think what we really now have is a generational gap of expectation.